Good morning. It is 8:34 on Wednesday, the 11th. Just getting started. So what we'll do is let's let's take a look at what happened yesterday with oil specifically. We're not going to look at the S&P yet. I'm not going to start doing both. If we have time before 9 o'clock, maybe we will. So let's scrunch this down a little bit so we take a look at the day in its entirety. Well, definitely a trend day down. You could see we opened up at this vertical line. These vertical lines on these charts, on my charts, are 9 a.m. That's what's called the pit session opening. So if you look, we opened up at 9 o'clock. We pushed up just a little bit, and then the entire day we just came straight down. This was one of the things we were looking for. Tell you the truth, I really didn't bother looking at this type of long move because we only trade the first hour, and in my opinion, there was no way in the world that we were going to go from a high of 52.26 down to below 51, to 58.7. So when we talked about it yesterday, we stopped at 51.40. That was kind of where I stopped drawing on the chart and on the chart that we do our homework on. So, but we had a nice day trading yesterday. We did this level here, 52.26. We actually had and again, I'll go up the chart and remind you of this, but we had 52.24 as a spot that we were watching for a potential reversal. We got that reversal. We were able to get a short there. In hindsight, and look, keep in mind, all right, at this stage of my trading, everything for me is about hindsight. Everything is about taking a look back and seeing what didn't I see or what did I see. And in hindsight, when we look back at yesterday, there were a couple of good trading opportunities. This was one of them, and we did take advantage of this, and that's a great job. The next one was if I wasn't, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I actually don't remember what trades I took yesterday. Okay, so there we took our one, here we took another. Okay, so I feel a lot better right now. So perfect trade up here, exactly the kind of setup we were looking for. So this really, I'm very happy with this one. Now, if you're not getting short here at this retest, let me turn this into. If you're not getting short here at this retest of the VWAP, okay, perfect trade here. Very happy with it. And what we had looked at this as a potential level to go short. We didn't have divergence at this time, but although we didn't have divergence at this time, we did still have this level that we were playing off of, and that was a value area low from the day before. And again, we'll take a look at. So nice trade opportunity here. If you didn't go short with this pullback to the VWAP, and if we look back, if we come back to this time of day here, okay, you have your middle of the day VWAP and this swing that we were trading at the time, which we're going to remove from the chart today. If you didn't go short on this one, well, now you come back up and you create a double top. And I don't know necessarily that this is a good short entry because this moves away from you so quickly. You might not have had a chance to get short, but certainly you do get your chance to go short here, and we take advantage of that. We do a great job with that. Now at this point, if I remember right, so right now we were only trading one contract, but if you take a look on either one of these trades, on either this first trade here, if you were into several contracts, the concept is you're out 10 ticks, you get a swing back, you're not out here yet because your stops at break even, and you would not have been taken out of break even yet. You come down further, again, you swing up. At this point, your stop is behind this swing. If you're looking for a trailer, again you push down, again you push down. So even in this trade as well, you push down, you get out of your first trade at 10 ticks. Your second trade is going to be some type of area of importance. To be honest, right now, I can't tell you what I think is a great way of looking at a second trade profit target. Once you get out of your first trade at 10 ticks, you move your stop to break even. So you have a risk-free trade at this point. You've taken money off the table, and the rest of your position is risk-free. I don't like the idea of just saying, okay, I'm going to hold it till whenever. I'd rather use some type of area of importance. So yesterday, that would have been, at this point, if we got out of one of our trades here, the areas of importance yesterday could have been the open's too close. It's only a few ticks away, so that's really not anything important. The close is a good one. The low is a good one. So my other profit target will be somewhere in here. And then if I was holding on to a third trade, I would pretty much just place my stop behind swings. And I think I would use a 10 tick trailing stop. So as we come down, I would try to stay 10 ticks above wherever it is we get to. And I would probably tighten that up at some point. But for now, let's just use that for how we would treat our runner, our third contract, or what however many contracts we're going to be trading. So let's take a look at homework for today. Let me make this chart fit properly. Okay. So here is the hourly chart for oil. You can see what we did here yesterday. And you can see that when we opened, this is the opening first hour from yesterday. When we opened, this was our level that we were watching for one of the potential spots for us to turn around. And we do it exactly to the tick, or maybe one tick above 24. Our high is 26. So we're within 2 ticks of calling out the high before it happens, right? And that's the whole point with volume profile. But so let's take a look. One thing, this swing here, this dash line, we are going to get rid of now. It did not hold as support or resistance, so that one is no longer of importance. We have two VPOCs here. We're going to leave these on for now because those, when we came through and we tested above, closed below, tested above, closed below, and then we moved down. So this, as of right now, has held as potentially resistance. So we're going to leave that on there for now. We are also going to leave on this swing here for now. Now remember, the dotted lines are previous VPOCs, not necessarily naked VPOCs, but previous VPOCs. And the dashed lines are previous swings, swing high or low. Excuse me. Um, so let's scrunch this chart up because we need to take a look at where we are in the overall scheme. So again, you'll notice there's a lot more of our lines up here, VPOCs, naked VPOCs, so on and so forth. And they can get a little confusing, but when you zoom into them, they make a little bit more sense. But below us, we really don't have much down here. So a push down below this swing is easily, and you can see where the swing happened back here. A push down below this swing, we can easily be targeting 49, 43. The high volume node here on the composite 4906. I think this low volume node here could act as support as we come through here, this 5035 to 5048 area. So we're going to be paying attention to that. So what we'll do, we're going to create a new type of line here for low volume nodes. And what we're going to do, how we're going to do that is going to be, what color should we use? Let's use, I think we're going to stay with red. We're going to make it solid. Okay, so we're just going to put a couple of spots in here that certainly are of importance. We will also do a VPOC of this microcomposite. I'm sorry, of this composite. Okay, we'll make it a little thicker. And we have back here previous point of control. So Make one of those. Okay. We have one back here as well. So we'll make one of those. Okay. So let's take a look at what it is we'd be expecting for today. So what we've done, if you look back, we have been trading, starting from here. We started trading, we started balancing in this area, and we're now testing the very, very low of that balance, and actually the very low of this balanced area before then. If we break beneath there, if we break beneath this area, now we're going to be starting to challenge this imbalance. This normally when you see this type of move through price, when you get back to it, you tend to move just as quickly. Sorry about that. So that's why I was saying I wouldn't be surprised if we do push down into it. I wouldn't be surprised to see us move fairly quickly. I don't know that I expect it to happen today. We had two really strong trend days in a row. We don't usually see a bunch of those in a row. At some point, you see some consolidation where things price kind of flattens out. But so what we'll do is let's see where we're trading right now. We are trading at 51.10. So let's. Oh, I just realized you guys couldn't see what I was doing there. Well, my apologies. I have two monitors and I forgot that only one of them is being recorded right now. So I'm not going to rerun through all of it. At this point, I'm just going to draw out what our hypotheses are and say I'm sorry. Dang it. Okay. So we are currently trading at 51.13. And let's take a look at what some of the potential is, what some of the potential openings are going to be. Okay. So 51.13 puts us into the value of yesterday. So that means we'll be opening in range in value. If we stay where we are, what we're going to look for is going to be a few of the different things we're going to look for is going to be an initial push down towards yesterday's low. Overnight low today is, find that for us. Sorry, guys and girls. Let me draw that on here. Overnight lows are in orange. Overnight lows and highs are in orange solid lines. And once you get used to what these lines mean, it really does become easier to look at a chart and know what it is we're trying to see. Okay, so there's one. Don't know why. Oh, there we go. That's bad. All right. So here we go again. Currently trading 51.14. So what we're looking at again, one more time, we're open as of right now, unless we move out of this price point, we'd be opening inside yesterday's value, all right, which is right here. And if you open inside yesterday's value, automatically you're also opening within the range of the entire day's price point, the entire profile, top to bottom. So based on that, we're going to draw out some hypotheses. Since we are opening inside yesterday's value, our first hypothesis is going to be open, chop, test value area low, break, retest, test overnight low, hold, and then come up towards yesterday's VPOC, 5140. Okay, and that's one hypothesis. Another one is going to be, again, we'll do one where we start heading down. This one will be where we open, head down, completely disrespect yesterday's value area, test, previous low, bounce around, come back up, towards yesterday's VPOC. Now, this may look the same, but the difference here is when we get to yesterday's value area low, how are we going to treat it? Okay, so not a monstrous difference, but a difference nonetheless. And we will pay attention to what happens at yesterday's value area low, because the next hypothesis is that we open small push down, and now we hold value area low as support. At that point, what we would be looking for is a retest of VPOC, slow down, break a VPOC, hold, and we test up to yesterday's value area high. That is hypothesis number 3. And we'll do one more. And that's going to be where we drive up at the open, VPOC, hold, test value area low, and then at that point we're going to start making decisions. So if we break value area low, we're going to treat it as resistance, or if we hold value area low, we're going to look for a break of VPOC to test yesterday's value area high. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Now, if you want to take this out further for the day, then I would tell you you'd be watching. Certainly, we would expect to stay within yesterday's range. All right, so I'd be very surprised if we come out and be above 52, whatever the high was, 52.25, 52.26. That's not to say it can't happen. The market does whatever it wants to do, but just as for the rest of the day, you'd be looking at these key levels and how they hold. And remember, when we trade, and I'll try to talk about this as much as I can remember to today. When we're trading, we have our levels that we come in with, and that's the stuff we figure out in homework. Previous swings, former point of controls, composite, high volume nodes, low volume nodes, all that fun stuff. But as the day progresses, there are other levels that come into play, right? So, excuse me. Turn this back on. And those are, well, let's try that a little bit. So, and those levels, if we go back to, oh, sorry, one thing we didn't look at that I'd like to is what we did overnight. So you can see when we started trading after the close, we pushed down, we tested this swing, okay, and we see how the swing held, and then we came all the way up towards 51.35-ish, and then we started trailing down back towards yesterday's lower end of value. And you can see here now, if we open below yesterday's value, and this is right now we're not. Right now our last trade is 51.15, so we're still in the value. But if you open below yesterday's value, which is exactly what happened yesterday, then the low of day, yesterday's low of day becomes pretty important to watch. But and more importantly, the overnight low, because if those break, then if we open at the bottom of yesterday's range and then we break beneath it and we form support, we form resistance here. Now we start potentially seeing that push down through the area that I showed earlier, which you guys didn't see. And I'm sorry. I'll bring it back over. If we break below yesterday's low, we don't have. I added these lines in today, these low volume nodes here. This is what I was talking about. But if you can envision without these two, we have pretty much nothing all the way down to this VPOC and this composite point of control, which actually I believe this is the composite point of control. This is the most traded price over the entire last year. So if we open up towards the bottom of the range, or even if we open up in value and we push through yesterday's low and overnight low, and we try to come back above it and we fail, we are looking at the potential of a third trend day in a row and moving pretty quickly back down to the 49.42, all the way down to 49.09, 49.10. So we'll watch that. Now, keep in mind, look, nothing that I'm saying is a prediction. Yesterday was a really good example of how our homework levels can hold. All right, so we did our homework. We looked at where we were opening. Now, keep in mind on this chart, what we're looking at here is the overnight profile. This is not the profile of the 2 days ago's regular trading hours. This is the overnight profile. On the hourly chart, the one where we do our homework, these profiles are only regular trading hours. So when we drew out our homework for yesterday, and we used this value area low right here as a reference point. That area, the fact that it worked out as perfectly as it did, that's not telling the future. That's just looking at areas of importance that the fact is we're not the only ones looking at. And here you can see exactly the level that we called out was 52.24. The high of day is 52.26, right? And it forms in a way where you have the chance to take a trade. This actually really was a nice setup. Anyhow, but let's talk about the dynamic levels. Dynamic levels are levels that form during the day. So what those are the swing high and low. And the swing we treat as the first 5 minutes of trading. So you see here where it says OR high, that's the opening range high. OR low, that's the opening range low. That's the high and the low of the first 5 minutes of trading. And then what you see here is the middle of that, the OR mid. Okay, another set of dynamic levels is the initial balance, the IB high and the IB low. Okay, you see these in yellow. That is the high and the low of the first hour of trading. Okay, and now these become levels that we watch during the day. VWAP. All right, this is a moving average that's calculated by price and volume. We watch this as a level during the day. The 21-day exponential moving average. Not my favorite, but just another level to pay attention to. Forget this pink and green one. The actual high of day and low of day. At this point, when we traded up here, this became the high of day. Next time we came to it, the fact that it was the high of day made it a reference, plus the fact that it was a reference from our homework or the value area level. And then ultimately, okay, we took that trade. Now, as we're moving down, we're creating a new low of day. And when you're creating a new low of day, when you're expanding the range, you're also then creating a new middle of day. And that's a very important one for us. It just tends to be that's a level that a lot of people are watching. So we can get reaction at that level. And I also have on here pivot points. Those are the things you see. S2, there's an S1 on here somewhere, PP, DP, CP, all that stuff. Forget what they mean. The only reason I have them on here is it's something that a lot of people look at. So I don't necessarily pay them any attention until they are reacted to. So if we trade to one of them and they hold as clear support or resistance, I'll pay attention to it next time we trade to it. All right, so we got about a minute before the open. Let me put this back here. I do want to try to get used to starting to trade with these charts. So everything on the left-hand side, everything that's a pure black background is crude oil. The one that has a slight red tint to it is the S&P. So right now we're not going to be watching that so much, but I do want to get used to reading this size chart for crude oil. Okay, so we're opening as expected. Remember yesterday's value area low. I'm going to actually add a line here. Okay. All right, so we've opened. Starting with a push up. We do have a little bit of resistance here from the overnight trade. Not something I would be paying attention to unless it holds and then we retest. And it's a little too early for me to treat that as any type of resistance that matters. And then at that point, at this point, you have to remember if we have a line up, if we have a line drawn on the chart, we're going to pay attention to it. I don't remember every reason why I drew the line. I know that this is a former VPOC because of the way the line is drawn. It's a dotted line. So I'm certainly watching as we come up towards that. I'm more interested right now in the overnight high and seeing what happens if we get to there. And with a nice strong push right off the open, we're going to start watching the VWAP in the middle of the day as potential buying points. If we pull back, we're not just going to buy just because it pulls back. We need to see some type of setup, and I'll try to explain setups a little bit better as well as we see them. Well, and assuming I get them right. Keep in mind, at this point of my trading, I still expect to be wrong more often than I'm right, and that's important because you don't want to get discouraged. You got to realize the people that you're trading against are some of the brightest people in the world, and they know how to set traps. They know how to make things look enticing, and until you get used to that, until you can truly discern what's enticing and what's not, and I'm not saying I have the ability to do that yet. Until you can truly do that, you're behind the eight ball. They're constantly just going to beat the hell out of you. So, although recently my trading has been good, that's a very small data set. I still expect to be wrong more often than I'm right. I try to be patient. The number one discipline, the number one skill that you should learn for trading is being patient. If you guys had watched me trade a month ago, I would have already made 2 or 3 trades and would have been wrong. I would have been trying to short actually a couple of times here, and would have been wrong. Right off the bat. But there's no reason to. Now we're starting to pay attention. We're coming up to overnight high. We'd like to see if we're gonna stop up here, pull away from it, turn back up, maybe give us some divergence or a nice candle setup that we can use as a potential short opportunity. Remember, also we are paying attention to looking for pullbacks towards middle of the day VWAP. We're also sitting at a pivot point. Remember, like I said, the pivot points really don't mean anything to me until they actually hold. For right now, I'm completely ignoring this. It's just a line at this point. So real strong push right off the open. Oh, one other thing to point out. I'm sorry. Today is Wednesday. Every Wednesday, there is crude oil inventories that comes out at 10:30. In a minute, I'll take a look to see what the scheduled news is today. Um, sorry, I should have done that already. So we generally expect a choppy opening. This certainly does not fall into that category yet. I mean, it's only been 30 ticks, but we have not yet seen any sort of chop. What we are seeing, though, is really strong drive, really strong drive up. It looks like it looks like right now we're trying to get to yesterday's value area high, in at the open, and I mean that would be one hell of a move, especially for a Wednesday. But so right now we're still in this range from overnight high to these two VPOCs. We're still in a range that I'm looking and potentially considering to go short, but it would have to set up. It would have to, since it's not yet, if that gives me a chance to do some drawing for us. We would look for something along the lines of this. We would need a setup, not just go short at these levels. And the more we push through them the way we are, the more we're going to start watching them to become support on the way down. As this pulls back, the further up we move, remember the middle of the day is going to move with it. And since we're in the first 5 minutes, or we just closed the first 5 minutes, here's the middle of the first 5 minutes range. Here's the high of the first 5 minutes range. So now we've put in a couple of new levels that we're going to use to pay attention. I would love to see some type of pullback towards here. Excuse me. VWAP, middle of the day, opening range mid, former VPOC. We have a lot of congestion in here that could potentially lead to a nice long trade if we pull back. This has been one hell of a push right off the open. For me, excuse me. For me, there actually has not been, even in hindsight, looking backwards, for me there has not been one potential trade setup this entire time. This is generally not the kind of move that I get to take advantage of, and that's completely fine with me. Let me pull up the news for today. I use wow, excuse me. Mm-hmm. Excuse me again. I gotta learn how to mute this thing so you guys don't have to deal with that garbage. If you can't tell, I'm fighting over being sick and losing that fight. Really sorry about that. Okay, so while we're looking at this, we're still pushing up. I guess on another chart. So if we look at today's news at 10:30, we have news in the U.S. for crude oil, and then at 11 o'clock, Trump speaks. So yeah, I'm actually very surprised at the strength of this move. Very surprised. I really would not have expected this type of action on a day where we have inventories and we have the soon to be president going on TV. That's well, but again, that's why I said this morning, you never know. The market could do whatever it wants, and we don't make trades because of what we think. We make trades because of what we see. And right now, the only thing we've seen is just a straight push up. Mm-hmm. Oh, and she's his favorite person right now. Oh, he's so cute. He is too cute. He's like super adorable to her. All right, so we've had a pullback now. For real first real pullback of the day. And again, we're going to start watching for potential buying opportunities down here. The other thing we're looking for is going to be if in this pullback we see some type of setup to go short like I drew out before. However, things have changed a little bit. So before, when we were doing this, before when we were talking about getting that setup that I drew out, we were talking about getting it and using this area, this overnight high, and these two VPOCs as our upper end of that drawing. Well, right now, where we've come to, we really don't have any level up here that is of importance to us. So this potentially is a dangerous place to try to look for a short because we have nothing to lean on. So the setup would have to be really, really nice for us to kind of get enticed here. And it certainly isn't right now. I'm much more interested in being long than being short, but we haven't had a decent trade setup. We had a retest. Sorry, we had a test of the opening range high from above, so we came down to it. We have a couple of candles that traded beneath it but closed above it. So that at this point that has acted as support. Not enough for me to want to get into a trade. You know, if ever there is a day where there's the potential of not making the trade in the first hour, it's Wednesdays. Now again, I was not expecting this type of movement on a Wednesday morning, but there it is. We do have divergence from here to here, but it's tiny, not something that we're even acknowledging, which you could tell because we're not taking the trade. So what would entice us to take a trade here? Let's draw it out. I'm sorry. Let's draw it out so that we can. So if it happens, we'll be ready for it. So it is actually starting to present itself. So what it would be is we got our move up, come down, test, come down, test, fail, come down, and do it with divergence. Okay, which right now we are sloping down here. So let's pay attention. Let's see if something like that sets itself up. And that would be what we're looking for as a potential short opportunity. Now, from a long perspective, I don't think I would just be trying to go long right off the VWAP. It's stretched. Maybe if we come and we test the VWAP, we might look to get into a position. Certainly down here by the overnight high in the middle of the day. This whole area here, I mean, we can pull back all the way down here and still have a good trade entry. So we're going to look to see potential scale in for a long. But again, we'll assess that when we get to it. Right now we're not having any real pullbacks to speak of. What's the current high? 51.51. I mean, this is only a 7-tick pullback, not nearly enough. One of the things that we always look for, and this is going back to the idea of being patient and disciplined, is we always look for reasons why we shouldn't be in a trade. And I want to show you what I mean. Opening range high held as support before, and we traded through it. We traded down to excuse me, 51.38. Now I just drew out that pattern for us where if we push down a little bit further, turn back up, and maybe set up a short here, that's going to be somewhere in the 48, 49 area. What I'd like to see here I'd actually like to see us push down a little further, give us a lower low than here, then turn back up to get us into our trade. Because what that does is that begins giving us this belief that, okay, we're stair stepping down a little bit, so there's enough room in the trade for us to be able to go short if it comes back up here and hit our profit targets. I'm also going to start considering putting in an entry here to begin getting into a long trade. And for those of you who don't know, long trade means you're buying before you're selling. A short trade means you're selling before you're buying. That doesn't make sense in the real world, but in the world of trading, the rule is buy low, sell high, right? It doesn't matter what order you do it in. You don't actually have to own it to sell it, but you can sell short, which is basically, in simplistic terms, you're selling it with a promise to buy it back at some point. That's it. It's about as easy as that. Just pretend like you're borrowing money from somebody and you tell them, okay, I'll give it back to you. Tested VWAP. VWAP held. This is very nice for the potential now of a move back up here, and I'm actually going to get a little bit ahead of this. Current high is 51, swing high is 49, so we're going to say 47 as our first potential. Now we just kind of wait. We'll see if it gets up to our price. I would be willing to scale in a bit up here.
Hey, Eddie. Not too much. Busy here, like normal.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
I've been coughing up a storm.
Yeah, you told me you were sick a
Oh
couple days
man,
ago, and now it doesn't seem like it's gotten any better.
no, I just can't fight it. So I'm actually recording these now, even when nobody's on here, because a lot of the people that have asked that want to do this, they just don't have the chance to be on at this time of day. So I'm recording them, and then at some point in the day, I'll put them up onto YouTube with a link, like a private link, so that people can go back and
Yeah, did you send me one yesterday?
I did, yeah.
Because I tried going on it,
Oh, what's
and it said it's like it's unavailable. So you might have made it private, but you made it private to like just yourself, maybe. You know what I mean?
I might have also sent it too soon.
Yeah, maybe.
Try it again. See what happens if you click on it now. If you still can't get to it, then I'll have to go in there and change something.
Yeah, it just says error. This video is unavailable.
Okay. So we should be getting short here. Again, demo mode is, we're victim to demo mode right now because, all right, there we go. Let's get this out of the way a little bit. All right, so we're in our first trade so far today, and we are willing to look for more scaling in. We're going to use as a profit target, assuming we were trading more than one contract, which I might start doing just for demonstration purposes. 37 will be our first profit target, our 10 tick profit target, and that's what we'll put in for now. But let's talk about some other places where this might go, and I'll move it around as necessary. Let's go from the high of day to the recent swing low to the recent swing high. It's not catching. High of day, swing low, swing high. And that puts you at 33, that 100% level. All right, so let me get rid of that. And then what I'll do is at some point I'll talk more about the what I just drew out there, that Fibonacci, what that actually is. And we have created a very nice bit of divergence up here. You know, if we were trading this now from a pure risk versus reward perspective, okay, and we weren't looking necessarily to scale in, the way we would handle this is our stop loss goes a few ticks above the high a day, put you right here, okay. The profit target is where it is. So right now your risk would be seven ticks. You entered at 47, you're risking to 54. Excuse me, profit target's 37. And this is a completely viable way of doing this. The only reason why I'm not doing that for now is I'm actually trying out this idea of scaling in and scaling in overpriced. And what that means is instead of taking my entire position, and let's just say we're using 3 contracts as what we consider our entire position. Instead of taking my entire position at once, I'm willing to take more as it goes against me because I'm not necessarily just trying to go short at one price. I'm trying to go short within a range. And I'm willing to, you know, get a larger position as we go through that range, as my initial entry goes against me. So truth be told, most of the trades that we have made over the last few weeks, our entries have been really good. And I think that trading all, again, using the number 3 for now, trading all 3 contracts at our initial entry would have certainly benefited us. The other aspect to it is I want to also look at getting into all 3 contracts at one price point, getting out of one of them initially at 10 ticks, but then being willing to get back into that one to now go short, in this case to go short again, as we come back towards our initial entry price. So there's a few different things I'm kicking around in my head as to how I want to try to place my trades. If you were looking at this as more of a quick short-term trade at this point, now that you're up 5 ticks, you could move your stop to break even, make this a risk-free trade, and then you either get the 10 ticks in your favor or 5 ticks against you. You could certainly do that. I am actually now going to move my stop down to above this swing high. Let's see if we can get through this VWAP. And I don't know if you saw, we just touched our profit target. Again, we are playing victim to demo mode, but it is very reasonable to believe at this point we would be out in the real world. We touched it twice, actually. And the reason why I'm saying that is we've had our price out here for a while. And the way it works is the first person there is the first person that gets filled. Now, see, in demo mode, usually what they'll do is it'll have to come through the price in order to count that you've been filled. But I actually am looking to see how many people are there, and there were so few people there that there's no doubt with the amount of time I was there that we would be out of our trade at this point. I mean, right now, again, I really don't care from the perspective of record keeping. You know, I see it. I know what's what. That's all I care about. This was a very well timed trade. What we're going to watch for now, though, is this VWAP going to hold as potential support? Actually, I'm going to get this off of our screen because I don't want it to distract me. Okay, so we're going to watch now as to whether or not VWAP is going to hold as support, and are we going to potentially get ourselves into a long trade. Now, I'm not crazy about that right now. We still have our divergence at the top, but we are in a very clear uptrend. There's no debate there that right off the opening of the day we've gone straight up. Okay, here it is, up, and now we're consolidating. Now if we hold, if the VWAP holds, which technically right now it did, we could be seeing another push up. Not really, not really all that interested just yet to jump into a trade. We did get a lower high here, but we didn't get a lower low here, right? Which is exactly what we were looking at when we placed our profit target at 37. We said we'd have to, okay, so there's our lower low. So right now, I am still very much interested in potentially going long, but I'd like a little bit more of a pullback, and I'd like a setup. I don't just want to have my trade out there. So absolutely perfect first trade for what it is we're looking for. We're kind of in the no man's land now, meaning I don't really want to go I don't really want to go long unless it's on a pullback, because I need the room from the entry to the last high. I need that room for our profit target, and I'd really like, more than 10 ticks. I don't want it to be that tight, which although we were that tight here, it's the setup was just absolutely perfect. And I actually don't think that we're done going down, but soon, at 9:30, the other markets open. The Nasdaq, the Dow, the main markets, the New York Stock Exchange, and all the pits, all the real time pits open, the real trading hours open for them. So usually at 9:30 we see just a quick blip here as well. And I don't have time to do it right now, but I would like to do the homework on the S&P. I don't have all the proper lines drawn on the S&P, so I really can't watch it for much trading. I really would like to do that. I'll have to start doing that. Maybe at night I'll start putting in all the lines just real quickly. VWAP still holding. The opening range high has pretty much been irrelevant, so we're not treating that with any importance just yet. You can see here we came down to it, traded below it, closed above it, closed below it, closed above it. It's just that we've been back and forth on both sides of it quite a few times. Although right now we've been under it more than we've been over it. So here is where if we entered our trade here with 3 contracts, we would have been out of 1 contract at this point. We would move the other 2 contracts to a break even, and right now my next profit target. So we had the one there at 37, which we closed. Truth be told, my next profit target would actually be somewhere in this area here, 34, 35. I might have actually closed 2 of them at 37, because to hold it for an extra 2 or 3 ticks, I don't believe is worth it. But then I would have 1 left on where I'm holding for now as a runner, just in case we do start pushing back towards the opening of the day, the mid of the opening range, this previous VPOC. Excuse me. And this now where I'm discussing where I would close my second contract, that's going to be stuff that you'll before you ever even enter a trade, you're just going to be able to look at it and say, okay, I'm looking to close 2 of them here, 1 of them here, or 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Like, you'll be able to see these levels much quicker. I will be able to see these levels much quicker as well. What time is it here? Oh, almost 9:30. You see, we were very patient during this opening push. There was really nothing for us to do there. And again, for none of you guys, other than Billy, got to see me trade about a month ago. But I could tell you without a question, if this was a month ago and we're opening and we come up here and I get this small candle at this VPOC, I'm looking to go short. I put a short trade in, which I'm wrong on. And we come up here and this I get this red candle here right below previous day high, overnight high. I'm looking to go short, and I'm wrong again. And I would have done that. I would have done that this entire way up. This one here, I might not have been wrong on. I might not have been stopped out of, but it's a horrible trade entry. Forget because of price, but because of setup. VWAP is still being respected. What we need to see now, are they going to respect it? Let's draw a trend line in here. Are they going to respect this downtrend as we come up to it? And when you have a trend line, what you could do, make a copy of it, and you look to see, is there a bottom? And there absolutely is right here. So we formed what's called a channel right now, and that's exactly this trade. If you remember the drawing I made for us before, that's pretty much what I was drawing. I was drawing a pullback up to what I was envisioning to become a channel. I'm not going to get into any details about what these channels mean. All that we care about is that there is lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And as long as we have that, we are expecting it to be the beginning of a pullback down. And we just, right now, we just look to be setting that up again. If we can form a lower low here and close, because now keep in mind, we've only closed below the VWAP once here. We closed below the VWAP here. This bar will certainly close below the VWAP, which it just did. All right, so now we're getting into another area that we're going to start potentially looking for a long. However, this, in my eyes, is not yet a good setup. This is still lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low, lower low, lower low. So what we're looking for is what I'd love to see. I'll draw it out for us again so that when it happens, we're not surprised by it. What we're looking for is we want this now to come up, break this high, turn down, and then give us an entry just above this low. That's what I would love to see happen right now. That would be the telltale sign for me for a potential long trade. On the short side, actually, there is that as well. A move back up towards these swing highs up here could give us a potential nice short entry. On the short side, I'm not crazy right now about a potential scale in because I just don't have levels up here to lean on. So I'm more interested in if we do get a pull up here, I'm more interested in trying to get into a trade with a very tight stop. But this little drift down really isn't setting up right now for any potential trade opportunity. So that's okay. We'll just wait. We have opened, and I'm gonna guess this. Yeah, see this big green candle here, followed by this big red candle. That happened within 1 minute of the opening at 9:30, which is not a surprise. You can see this candle closed at 9:26 and 37 seconds. It took almost 4 minutes for this candle to form, and then less than 50 seconds for this red one. And that's what I was saying with that 9:30 opening. You get a quick spike down. We are in an area that I like for a long, but I would like to see a setup with it. So it's not just going to be that we start throwing trades in here.
Now, you said you used to trade with like 50 plus contracts, right?
No, I used to trade shares of stocks,
Oh,
and
okay.
it could have been anything from. It's a little different, but yeah, I traded with very large size. Yeah.
Okay. So if say you were coming down
Hmm.
and you set something at around, let's say, just for an example right now, like 51.30,
Hmm.
and then it only touches it, but you have 50 contracts there. Is there a possibility that only half of those contracts will get filled? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And, and one of the things that I look at in why we trade oil is what's called liquidity. Give me a minute. So you've seen me pull up that the bids and the asks on the right side of a chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up a different way. Let's do. Okay. So what we're looking at here, and I know these numbers are moving quickly, but take a look at this number here and this number here. So whatever is the top number on the left-hand side and the bottom number on the right-hand side. And generally what you're looking for is to see what does that average look like. And it's my belief that, wow, hang on. Just had a nice little move down there. So let's keep in mind, if we were in our short from before, we're in one hell of a trade right now. Okay, so we're in our certainly our third contract. I don't believe I would not have held on to my second contract. I would have gotten out of that before. Certainly, we're in our third contract on this trade, and we're now trailing it with a runner. And I'm going to say it's about a 10 tick runner. Like for now, it would probably be somewhere above here. But great, absolutely great breakout move to the downside. We for lack of a better way of saying this, we called it. We talked about what it's going to take to make us believe we might be starting to push down, and we got exactly what it is that we were expecting. We didn't have any expectation of where it's going to go. At least I didn't. The only expectation of where I thought it was going to go was to give us that 10 tick profit target, and then it still seemed as if we were heavy to the downside. It's the lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. That's what I'm referring to when I say it still looked like we were trying to turn down. Once we closed below this VWAP here, we tried to get back above it, and immediately we just got pushed down. So no real trade opportunity yet. If you're trading this with what I'm going to recommend is either 2 or 3 contracts at least. If you're trading it with 2 contracts, then you are in your second contract. You would have taken your first to 10 ticks, went to break even, and your second one you're leaving as a runner. If you're trading with 3 contracts, in my opinion, for this trade, you'd only have 1 left. So, excuse me. What I was getting at here is, you take a look at what these numbers are. My plan, if I get as consistent as I used to be, and I get as consistent as I believe I can be, I plan on trading 20 contracts at my maximum of oil. And the reason for that is very rarely do you see less than 20 contracts at one of these levels, at the inside level, the highest one here and the lowest one here. And what that tells us is if I wanted to, like you were just asking, if I have an order out for 20 contracts, it's very realistic that I'm going to get filled on all 20 because 20 contracts are going off all the time here. They're going off 1 at a time or 2 at a time. But, for the most part, right there, you saw it come down below 20, but just very minimally, and not for a very long time. Almost all the time when you look at these, they're going to be above 20. So, yes, you can potentially not get filled, but that's why we use the size that we're going to use when you get good enough to be trading that kind of size. That's why you're doing it. So we've come below lots of important levels: overnight high, middle of the day, VWAP. We certainly are still interested in going short more so than going long right now. There would have to be one really well defined setup for us to want to go long here. And now, basically, because we've had this shift in sentiment, and if you remember what our one of the hypotheses were yesterday was that we were going to ultimately come up to test value area high. We never even yesterday's value area high. We never even got there. Yesterday's value area high is like 51.72. Sorry, it disappeared on you. 51.72. So we never actually got there. If we do, if this does turn out to be the high of day, I wouldn't be surprised now, like we talked about, that we're going to make a push towards yesterday's low, below 51. Maybe break below it a little bit. I'm not all that keen on that idea because, like I said, I believe if we break below yesterday's low and hold there just for a little bit, it's going to be a pretty quick free fall down beneath there. But for now, let's wait and see. And again, all these predictions mean absolutely nothing. I don't care if I'm right. I don't care if I'm wrong. I did not expect us to stop moving at 51.50 or 51.51. I'm going back to my homework chart, and I genuinely just don't have a level there, and that's completely okay. That's completely okay. What we didn't trade this because of a level of the chart. You remember I talked about dynamic levels this morning. We traded this because we had a higher day with we have a high, low. Here's our high of day. It's a higher high. We create a lower low. We are now looking for a lower high, which we get, and then we start pushing down. Now at this point, we're still looking for a lower high. This is the high here. We could still push up quite a bit from where we are and still be considered a lower high, which is exactly what we're looking for. I really should be looking to get into a trade here, I think. What is this at? 43? Let's see here. Because of the way VWAP was traded before, how it kept coming through it, I don't want to get too aggressive on my entry, but we also have the moving average here. We have the overnight high. Definitely looking here for a potential setup for a short. And one of the, again, we always look for reasons to stay out of a trade. I don't just want to throw my trade in here because that to me is not a setup. Just pushing back the price is not a setup. Remember, this one, it wasn't that we just pushed back the price. Lower low, we're coming up, we're testing an area that we calculated this entry point off of the high, off of this swing high. This was something that we literally drew to happen before it happened. I don't have that here as much. I don't have, okay, so we just created a lower low. We're going to come up. We're going to stop at the overnight high. Well, no, maybe not. Maybe we're going to stop at the, no, maybe not. There's just too much in it. Now, if you wanted to potentially scale into a trade and take a little risk that way, that you could do. We could have put an order in. We could have put an order in to go short 2 ticks below VWAP, which would have been 35, which you would be in, and then scale in with this being the end of our scale. So maybe even slightly above it. We could have done that. I did not. So right now we traded above overnight high, closed below it. This current candle traded above overnight high, currently trading below it. Now, an ideal setup right now, if it were to happen, would be a pullback just above the low, pullback, and then a move down. I would kind of have see that like that particular drawing isn't nearly as exciting to me as this one. I kind of really have to see what it looks like as it sets up. Here again, we're trading above overnight high. Only 29 ticks until this bar closes. So if we get a couple of ticks higher here, we'll be closing above overnight high, which we did. There's a trend line coming through to this swing here. So this channel is still currently being respected. It happens to coincide with the VWAP here. Wouldn't mind seeing exactly what just happened, a little bit above VWAP, giving us a potential. I'll tell you what. We're getting hopefully close to a potential trade setup here. But it has to set up. We're not just going to make the assumption that it is a trade setup until it actually happens. And it might tell me I'm wrong right now. You know, there we go. We break above this high. We now have a higher high. So this potentially is the beginning now of an uptrend. And again, for me, nothing in here would read to me as a reason to go long in this move. So I don't look at it as a missed trade. It's one that I just didn't see any way to take advantage of. Let's take a look at we do have divergence coming up towards the high of day here. And again, looks like we're setting up for a potentially good short trade here. Definitely missed a decent trade opportunity right there. Didn't look early enough at the divergence. You know, you see the divergence that we have going back. Really should have the same entry here as we did before, the 47, at which point we probably would be maybe out of the trade at this point at 37. That was a real nice quick 10 tick move. Missed that one. That's a little poor on my part. That's okay. VWAP held now from the top side. VWAP really has not been respected all that much yet, so we're not going to give it too much weight. You know, you see here, one time it held, but then as we got to it, we started chopping around it. Next time we got to it, we just blew right through it. So I'm really not giving it any sort of weight here. And there's a reason for that. When you look at these reference levels, there's two types of traders. Okay, there's traders that do what we do, very short term trader where we're watching the charts. Then you have traders that are trading real money. They're called other time frame traders or higher time frame traders. They couldn't give a rat's ass where the VWAP is, where former point of controls are, high, low, yesterday's high. They couldn't care. That when they need to come into the market and they need to make a trade, it's for so much size that those levels mean nothing to them. So when you see things like this and you're blowing through these levels, I'm not saying that that's necessarily a higher time frame trader, but what I'm saying is that the short time frame traders are not really acknowledging them, and that's why they work, is because lots of people see them and acknowledge them. When they don't, we don't. Now we do not. If we just take this last swing high to here, we do not currently have divergence. So I'm not looking to get a short right up here right now. Shoot. Go ahead, though.
Now you're talking about how you're not really going to respect VWAP as much right now because we've broken through it so much. Now, because VWAP's kind of like a moving average, right, of the day. Say we were looking at the screen for another 20-30 minutes in the future, and say we started to go up a little bit, and then the VWAP kind of also went up because of that. In that amount of time, because the VWAP, instead of being here, say it could be a little bit more up here, would you then still not respect it? Because you wouldn't respect it?
That's right.
Okay.
Because it's not a question of where it is, because everyone sees the VWAP in the same place. So it's not a question of where it's trading. It's a question of whether or not, when it's been tested, if it held. And as of right now, it hasn't, and that's really the part that matters to me. And it looks like we're going to try to break higher here. I don't know that we're going to try to get above the high of day. We very well may, but we don't have divergence in this small area here yet. So that's the only reason I'm not pulling the trigger on a short. Even if it does end up turning down, you have to keep in mind, so my goals on a day is 30 ticks per contract. That's my goal for profit target on a day. So if you take this one trade here in the morning, okay, two of them would have been closed. Let's assume three contracts. So that means my goal for 3 contracts is $900. Two of these would have been closed out at 10 ticks, so that's $200. One of these would have been closed out maybe 15 ticks. I wouldn't have gotten all the way down here. This is what, 24, 25 ticks in our favor. Maybe a 15 tick profit target. So that's another 150. So this one trade here would have made $350. Okay, so good trade, very good trade. And the reason I bring it up is it's going to be hard. It could be hard sometimes in the morning to get to that $900 profit target. Sorry, real quick. Nice hold here, but still, we're just now starting to see a roll down on the BBs. Let me make this one a little bigger. But no real divergence in here. Divergence from earlier in the day for sure. But I would not have taken a second shorter. This actually this actually is potentially a nice short setup too, but I just don't like that we're sitting right in the middle of all this congestion here. So sorry, what I was saying was, you already have one good trade under your belt for today, and that shouldn't change how you enter or exit positions, but you have one good trade under your belt today, and I don't want to force an entry. This one really should have been taken. This first trade here should have been taken. I can't say the same for the second trade because, again, at that point now we've had a higher low, and it did end up respecting VWAP in this one particular case. But that's enough for me to say, all right, you know what, I'm not going short here. I don't have enough room in this trade to get to where I want to get to if I get short here. VWAP is tilting up, like you were saying, because price is moving higher, VWAP will move higher with it. But this first one here should have been taken. And it really would have been the same idea. You would have taken 2 of them off at 10 ticks and leave one for a potential runner. And we've watched enough of this to say these runners that you leave on, rarely do they become a monstrous trade. It's not, that doesn't happen all that often. And one of the things that I will try to pay attention to is how often do these runners go beyond 15 ticks and actually get closed there, meaning that they don't go to 17 tick profit but then come back to 10 tick and you close out your trade. So I want to really pay close attention to that. Really pay close attention to that as we spend time looking at it. Because also remember the other aspect that I was talking about today. Here again, we're potentially forming a higher low depending on how this bar closes. And I'll tell you what, if this bar closes well, I might consider taking a long here. Because although we are coming up towards high of day, again, we really don't have we have a slight turn down in the in the BBs down there. I might hold off on that. What will be best is if it does exactly what it's doing and not make me want to even consider taking a long trade here. But to get back, the runner. So beyond the runner, the other thing I was talking about today is getting into a trade, having several contracts, closing some of them, but then looking to put some back on I'm very, very interested in trying to start paying attention to that. And I'll do that after I'm much more comfortable with my entries. Right now, I'm almost entirely concerned with my trade entries, not my trade exits. So um, once I'm more comfortable with my trade entries, I would absolutely be looking for things like, you get into a trade, it comes 10 ticks in your favor, you close out one contract or depending two contracts. If it moves back towards your entry price, um, you have your stop at break even for sure. Well, I shouldn't say that. You have your stop somewhere, and then if it comes back to your entry price, look to get back in. So VWAP just held again. Sorry for jumping there. That's that's enticing, I gotta tell you. But hasn't set up, so we'll wait. Um, so you're in a trade, it goes 10 ticks in your favor, you close out part of your trade. Now, let's say it pulls back 5 ticks, pulls back 6 ticks, whatever it is, you get back into the one that you just closed. So you're now back into your full 3 contracts, but you've already now closed out at a 10 tick profit, got back in 5 ticks better than your profit, or 5 ticks worse than your profit. So now you're really have a 5 tick profit, but back into 3 contracts. And that kind of jiggling up and down, I wonder if there is a way to trade that and take advantage of that. One thing also I want to point out that I just noticed, the S&P is creating daily highs right now. So that I wonder how that's going to correlate to oil. I really do like this right now as a long setup here. So if we tick above into 42, I am going to take a long. I'm not completely crazy about this trade, but maybe what we'll do is this. Let's give it another minute, because I just don't like how this low came below here. That we got that lower low here, but it really does look like we're trying to build up some energy here and make a push. Glad I pulled that trade when I did. That's not to say it's going to be wrong, but at least for this second, it would be wrong. Still sitting above the VWAP here. What time is it? Okay, so we're pretty much done for the day. Now, as expected, Wednesday morning, we got the first push that I did not expect. Then we started chopping around, and we did well with it. Very very happy, with it. As this came down, I think I told you I didn't really see a trade here. Could you have scaled in overnight high, middle of the day, opening range mid? Yeah, I didn't, obviously, and I don't, even looking at it now, I don't think I would have. I don't really see anything there to tell me to do that. So didn't see a trade here. But this short right here is a really, really nice trade. Second short opportunity, which we missed right here, also a nice trade. I would not have taken this third short opportunity here. So I would have just flat out missed that one. And at this point, where we are, the news comes out. I believe, what time was it? Where's my 10:30. So half hour till news. At this point, I will be done for the morning. If anyone that's watching this has any questions, feel free to. Probably the easiest way for you to do it would be to just comment in the YouTube area. I'll try to make sure that video is working. And this way I'll know what it is you guys have questions about, and I'll try to cover them. In the next trading session. All right, guys. Billy, you have a good day, my friend.
Have a good night.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Alrighty, thanks.
Bye now.